Alright guys, welcome. I'm King of Charmanders, and here I bring you another Halloween Cup video. Of course, because it's Halloween Cup week, and I want to make sure you guys get teams that you like. I'm going to analyze the top teams on pvpoke.com, starting with the best team that you could possibly use, which is the top one right there. Galvantula, Azus, and Crustal. Now, you're probably wondering, is this a very reliable website? Yes, it is. For those of you that do use it, you know it's extremely reliable, and it allows you to play with a lot of things. And these training analysis battles are actually individuals like myself that spend a healthy amount of time training on pvpoke.com, and it gives all this data, spits out all this data. So this is very reliable. This is the best team you can use on PvPoke, from PvPoke on Halloween Cup. Now, as you see, it features Galvantula, Azumarill, and Crustal. If you look at the top performers on the left, Crustal is actually the top performer in the entire meta. It paces everything by a large number of percentage, except for Azumarill, of course. And paired with Azumarill, it's monstrous. As you see here, this Azumarill is sporting Ice Beam Play Rough. Ice Beam Play Rough, I don't think you need Hydro Pump with this team, unless you run into a Wormadam, but with you're able to take on the Azumir, and Ice Beam is allow you to break shield and take on those flyers. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a breakdown of each and every mon, and we're going to run up the team builder and see exactly how this team is the most powerful team you can use in Halloween Cup. So in the lead, we have Galvantula. Galvantula is an incredibly powerful lead. It does a ton of damage. As you see its stats, it's the glass cannon from Halloween Hell. It is a bug electric type. It does a ton of damage, like I said, in a short time, and it recently got a buff. Well, not recently, it's been a while ago, but it's incredibly powerful for Halloween Cup. So it is weak to fire and rock. That's why you see teams having Alolan Marowak, Fire Fang variations, or those Smackdown Crustals and Tyrannitars. They're mostly to target this thing, because since it's a glass cannon, Galvantula doesn't live very far to see the future. If it gets thrown, if you light it on fire, because you should light most bugs on fire, and if you drop it underneath a bunch of rocks. So that's the main thing of why Galvantula. Now, Galvantula does have a few resistances in the Halloween Cup. You resist the Iron Head from Wormadam. You resist those grass types, so Frenzy Plant, you are resisted against it. You're resisted against fighting as well, so those counters from those Toxicroaks, from those Obscumes don't do much at you, and fellow Galvantulas that use Volt Switch against you, not very effective. So, Galvantula does have a decent amount of resistances, but it does have a lot of weaknesses, because there are a lot in the meta that do target Galvantula. Now, like I said, it's a glass cannon. Hard to obtain only because unless you play you likely have one, but the only way you can get a good PvP one is if you grinded from previous events that were quite a while ago. So if you grinded those events, your only choice is to hatch one and then trade one from your friends. So your friends have to trade you one. As far as the second, I'm assuming this is the safe switch. It's a Azumarill, and I don't even need to give this thing an introduction. You either love it a lot or you hate it. I'm in between about it. You either love it because you use it a lot, or you hate it because this thing is everywhere and it destroys you. Or you use it and then you laugh and then you're like, I hate you after because you just killed it and then you just won the match. Anyways, Azus is one of the most powerful Great League mons in Go Battle League. It's been since even the preseason, it's been relevant and it's never lost its edge. It's incredibly powerful, and the reason why is because it has such high stats. It is a tank. Azumarill is so thick because not only it literally maxes out in it's like the only super BBML Great League mon that literally maxes out at near 1500. In fact, rank 1s do max out to level 40. So if you have a rank 1 Azus, or close to a rank 1, you can max out to level 40, which is insane. And that's why Azu is so strong. As you see its stat spread, it's an amazing tank and it does a lot of damage over time. Now, a lot of things target this. For example, Galvantula is used to target Azus. I use Galvantula to target Azus as well. That's why it's linked to electric types, because electric types do target Azu. Now, even though Azu extremely dominant in this meta, if you do see her weaknesses, it's kind of sweaty because, like I said, Galvantula does a lot of damage as we analyzed earlier. And you also have Shadow Victory Bell. Yes, I've seen a Shadow Victory Bell yesterday and it tried to kill my Azu. So Shadow Victory Bell is here. And you also have Venusaur and other things that could potentially grass, like Whimsicott. So it is weak against grass. There's plenty of checks to Azu. But it's really good just because of its tankiness. It can live. There's nothing, unless it's a Solar Beam, that will one-shot the bunny. Other than that, other than a Solar Beam, nothing one-shots the bunny at like full range. Or at like a certain range. Or like the closest range, I'd say. Because, yeah. Anyways, it's weak against grass, and it's also weak to poison. So that's why you see Beedrills. Beedrill, Poison Jab, and Tentacruel, Beedrill, Tentacruel, and basically anything that has Poison Jab. It takes down the bunny. That's why people use Poison, because, you know, Fairy's weak against Poison, and you take down the bunny. And that's why Azu is such a dangerous foe. Even though it has plenty of weaknesses, even though it's targeted a lot, because it's so thick, it's able to take on a lot of meta. But as you see, Bubble charges energy pretty quickly, and then Play Rough and Ice Beam, which is the preferred moveset for this team, does a lot of damage. It is resisting Bug, Dark, Fighting, Fire, Ice, and Water. So this is why Azu is so good. Even though you have plenty of things that do target it, it does resist X-Scissor, it does resist Bug Bite, those dark types like Umbreon and Magnabuzz. Sorry, nothing on you. Fighting types counter does little damage to Azu. And those Alolan Marowaks and fellow Azumarill, if they're not sporting Play Rough, are really, they don't do much at you. That's why Azu is just so powerful. It's so tanky, great stat spread. Now, I don't actually have one of these things, but enter Crustal. It's incredibly powerful. I wish I had one, and the reason why you want one is because it carries this unique typing of Bug and Rock. And because of its rock typing, guess what? You know what it does? It smacks you down. It throws a bunch of rocks at its opposition, which is the smackdown. It will lay the smackdown on everything you have in front of you, which is basically a Alolan Marowak. It kills all the bugs, which is Galvantula, and it just deals heavy damage. As you see, it has a pretty decent stat spread. It's like across the board, pretty good. Somewhat tanky. Not too tanky, to be honest with you, but you know, it's like in the middle. And it also has a, like I said, it's pretty balanced, and it drops a bunch of rocks at you, which is why it's really good. Now, what's interesting about Crustal is that you are weak against rock. Unfortunately, rock on rock does not resist you. It actually, the bug typing is what costs you. So if you see something like a Tyranitar beats you. Just because it does resist your rocks, but your rocks don't. Yeah. You get what I mean. The bug typing carries some interest. And you also, if you get the mirror, then it's just really weird. So whoever has more damage on their Crustal technically loses that matchup. It is weak to several other things. Well, not really several other things, but it's weak to, like, say, like, some movesets. Like, for example, you have Iron Heads that are everywhere from Wormadam. You have the Iron Heads as well from Mawile. And those water, which is basically, essentially, like, Quillfish. You have Quillfish. Quillfish is Aqua Tail. And Azu's Bubble or Hydro Pump. It does have a little bit of resistances. And when I mean little, it has two resistances. It resists normal and poison types. So you don't see a lot of like normal fast moves. I suppose like Body Slams. Yes, Body Slams from those Galarian Rapidash. And Body Slams from those Zweilous. And Poison Jab. Poison Jab doesn't do much against it. It does resist Acid Spray. So yeah, it's resist poison. But the reason why Crustal's main squeeze is because it carries Smackdown. You get stabbed with Smackdown. X-Scissor is a very fast charging move that can bait shield, and Rock Slide hurts a lot. So that's why Crustal is really strong in the back. You line this up against the Alolan Marowak, you line it up into Galvantula, it's going to squish it to death. And those Smackdowns hurt a lot. But also, because it also has that X-Scissor and Rock Slide, it does some heavy damage if you're able to get it like loaded up with energy, or you can do a lot of sweet farm down plays with Crustal. That's why it's so good, and that's why it's in the top team. Alright, here's the team builder. As you see, I got Galvantula, I got Azu and Crustal. We put it in the simulator. You can do this with any of your teams, and look below. Now, these rankings aren't absolute. For example, your rating doesn't really reflect your team and how you play it. It does take out player skill. However, this is a good general look to see if your team's actually really good or if it covers the meta. And as you see, since this team has been used in the trading sim a lot, it's had hundreds of battles, it is an insanely good team. And it's not hard to see why. As you see, it scores a B in coverage, a B in safety, an A in consistency, but a C in bulk. Now, that's kind of like not really, like, bulk isn't that, like, yeah. Bulk isn't too much concern in Halloween Cup because a lot of things are glassy and you're not going to have a full... Well, you can have a full bulk team, but even then, you're probably not going to have something super bulky. Your best combination is probably going to be like Azus or Umbra and something like that. Anyways, it's extremely consistent. As you see, it has extremely... It deals a lot of damage. And with that safety and coverage rating, it's actually pretty good. It's like really good. It has a really good rating. Now, this is how you match up. It's not hard to see why. As you see here, this team has full coverage against Mana Buzz. All of its team beats Mana Buzz. You also have Crustal to cover Galvantula, Azu to cover AWAC, Galvantula to cover Azu, and you have Azu to cover Mawile. Bijou gets crushed by Crustal, and Alolan Muk gets covered by Azu and Crustal as well. Those are, yeah, Azu and Crustal as well. And if your opponent is unfortunate enough to use Frostless, as you see, Crustal destroys it. That's what this big X is for. That's what the big X is for. X's means it's a loss. So what goes down here is what wins. So Frostless dies really hard. You cover Wormadam Trash, also opposing Crustals. Fortress dies. You kill Driplim, and you also kill Skuntank. So as you see, this team covers a lot of really relevant meta picks across the board. That's why it's so good. It's not really a surprise. As you see, this team has a threat score of 609. So these are the potential threats that this team will carry. But you don't see a lot of well, you don't see a lot of the top 5. For example, the Whimsicott. I've seen some Whimsicotts. That doesn't mean you can't play a lot of them, but it's okay. Ironically, you do lose against Swalot. Wigglytuff is also a problem. So, I see a lot of Wigglytuffs. Wigglytuff, you do need to do so. I can see you kind of need, because you lose the lead against Wigglytuff. So, you're going to need Azu and Crustal to do some damage. As you see here, Azumarill is in your threat score as well. So, Azumarill and opposing Galvantulas. Galvantula covers Azu, and like you said, Crustal covers Galvantula. So there are these top 10s are pretty much around everywhere, but it's not that bad. You have a wide range of coverage, and you have an answer against most of these things, except for Whimsicott and Swalot. And like I said, I've seen Whimsicotts, but I've only seen them once. The reason being is because Whimsicott is kind of expensive and kind of rare. I don't even have one. If you want to know, I grind pretty hard, and I don't even have one. I totally skipped the Cottony Whimsicott like spree, and I was just like, screw this thing. I don't care. But that's basically what it is. It's a 609 threat score, but as you see here, it's very powerful. In summary, this technical summary, this team is very good. I give it an 8 out of 10. I would give it a 9. The only issue is that it's Halloween Cup. You know what I mean? I only give something a 9 out of 10 if, it has, coverage against pretty much everything. As you see here, Charmers are dangerous to this team, particularly Whimsicott. And if you do get a Wigglytuff, like I said, you are losing the lead with Galvantula. There's ways to play around that. However, if you got 2 Charmers, you're in trouble. So, I definitely give this team a 8 out of 10. I would give it a 9. It's a close 9. I'd say, 8.5. Okay, we'll give it an 8.5. 8.5 because it deals a ton of damage, covers a lot of relevant meta, and at the same time, Crustal rocks your world. So there's a lot of sweet plays you can do with this team. I myself use the Galvantula Azu core. It's super meta. It's super meta. It's very meta. It's very powerful. But the most important thing is this team's actually pretty available. Except for Crustal, you probably have a Galvantula and actually, you may have a Galvantula, but likely you have an Azu and a Crustal. I don't know what to replace this team with. There are plenty of other teams on ppop.com you can try. I'll be analyzing all of them. So this is the first one we're going to analyze. And it's very good. That's why I give it an 8.5. Ton of damage. Great coverage. And you have 2 really sweet mods. As you see, almost all of them, with the exception of Galvantula, have a 60% or more win rating against the meta. Which is pretty good. With above 65 for each one, these, well, they're very reliable, and there's a lot of plays you can play out of, even if you have lost leads, etc. Anyways, I hope this team helps you out. This is a very powerful team. Galvantula, Crustal, and Azu. If you have them, I would use it. Galvantula and Azu. If you haven't seen my 5.0 video, put it below here, because that Galvantula Azu core is really strong, and you can see it in that video. But instead of Crustal, I have Amos. But yeah, you guys have a wonderful day. This is a great team to use, so if you have Galvantula, Azu, Crustal, it's very powerful, and I definitely recommend you use it.